Good evening everyone. Today in this video we will fight against the Atmos character of our world around us, and in this video we will come back to the older form, or I would say, to be more precise, one of the forms of the movies videos on this channel, one of the forms they can adapt. So this time it will be a review of one book, actually more historical commentary to one book. Some time ago, a few years ago, I read one novel, historical novel, written by German Roman Catholic priest Mr. Andreas Knapp, and the title of this novel is War in the Name of God, and the subtitle is The Last Days of Constantinople. So, as its title suggests, this book deals with the final days of Constantinople that ceased to exist as Constantinople and later was renamed as Istanbul. Uh, After the siege and the sack of the city by Ottoman forces that were led by the Mehmed II, later thanks to this event he got his nickname Mehmed II the Conqueror, because he conquered the Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine, actually I should say the Roman Empire, because Byzantine Empire is the term coined by the German historian scholar Hieronymus Wolff in 1557, because Byzantines were calling themselves all the time Greeks, despite the fact they were calling themselves all the time Romans, despite the fact they were Greek speakers, and not so many of them knew Latin or any other language, but their ethnic identity and state identity was still Roman Empire till the final day, I mean the 29th of May 1453, when the Constantinople finally was captured and sacked by Ottoman army. Ottoman army, I should actually say. And this final siege is nicely described in the form of the historical novel that is very beautifully written. One reads it quickly. There are some historical events. There is small glossary at the end of the volume that helps the reader who are not specialists to understand better the importance and the nuances of historical events presented within the book. And everything looks fine, but there is one issue. I always have to find something in the books. There is one mistake that shouldn't be there. The mistake is about Emperor Phocas from the beginning of the 7th century AD, because Mr. Knapp attributes to Emperor Phocas the idea of the Holy War and accuses him of that. Actually, Mr. Phocas was usurper on the imperial throne, and he was not the author of the idea of the Holy War, but the author of the idea of Holy War was the one who deposited Mr. Phocas in 1610 AD and executed him, his successor and founder of the new dynasty, actually, Emperor Heraclius, the one who is actually famous, and this is one of the most important reformer and also militant emperor for Byzantine Empire, Eastern Roman Empire I should say, because he was waging a very long war from 602 AD to 628 with Persia, that devastated actually and weakened significantly two countries. And during this war, Heraclius coined the term Holy War against the infidels, so Zoroastrian Persia. And thanks to this propaganda and perfectly waged war against Sasanian Persia, and perfectly used propaganda to motivate the soldiers and society for incredible war effort. He won this war and devastated actually Sasanian Persia that was not able to recover in the next decades. What was actually used by the new conquerors that were about to enter the theater of history. I mean the conquerors that were warmed up for fight and motivated for fight and conquest by the word given to them by Prophet Muhammad. So freshly formed Ummah, so Muslim communities, Muslim warriors, they actually had perfect timing with the beginning of their conquest because they started few years after this horrible war between Byzantine Empire and Sasanian Persia. Byzantine Empire lost African and some Asian provinces like Syria and Palestine to the Muslim conquerors, but thanks to the Taurus Mountains and the ability to reorganize itself and collect the pieces, it pushed back the invaders, and they were even besieging Constantinople, but they didn't manage to conquer it. And even according to the tradition, one of the companions of Prophet Muhammad died during this unsuccessful siege of Constantinople, but city was not taken. In contrast to Byzantine Empire, Sasanian Empire was not so lucky because Sasanian power collapsed because due to the fact that after this brutal war with Emperor Heraclius, there were some years of horrible instability in the central government of Sasanian Empire, horrible instability on the Sasanian throne, and actually Sasanian Empire, although it was not defeated easily by Muslim conquerors, it took some time and many bloody battles, it collapsed completely, and the last Sasanian rulers actually emigrated to China and never came back, and many Zoroastrians emigrated to India, especially the elite of the Zoroastrian religion emigrated to India, and Persia entered its new historical period. First two and a half centuries are called the Ages of Silence, but after it, the beautiful contribution of Persian culture and heritage into nascent Islamic civilization was transferred, and one should say that Persia did the same what Greece did some centuries before. As a great Roman poet of Greek origin Horace said, that Greece conquered Greece has conquered very dangerous conqueror. The same Persians can say that conquered Persia conquered dangerous conqueror by culture, because in the Islamic culture of Islamic nation, as American scholar Marshall Hodgson wrote and coined the term Persianate, there is a lot of contribution, a very significant contribution of Persian tradition and Persian mind, and also already as Muslims, many Persians contributed to any discipline of human activity within the Islamic world. So this incredible war between Emperor Heraclius and Shah Khosroes opened possibility for the new civilization to enter and occupy great areas and gain a lot of heritage from great cultures of antiquity. So Eastern Roman Empire, Hellenism mainly, and Persian traditions. That's why it happened what it happened, and Middle East, partially because of this, looks now as it looks currently. So coming back to the novel, it's worth reading. There is only this small flaw what I mentioned. It was translated in few languages, so Andreas Knapp, and one can check in the internet his novels, available in the languages someone reads, and it's nice read. Have a nice day, bye. I wish you good night.